Hello again. So hopefully this goes a little bit better this time. For some just bizarre reason, I was having an issue wherein it was lagging really extremely, like in a really freakish manner. Alright, I forgot to give her a fist weapon. That's fine, she can just kind of hang out back here for now. Why are we lagging now? Let's see. Resolution is 1 as it should be. That's a weird noise. Texture scaling is fine. You know, I don't know. Alright, AI menu. That is fine. Oh man, it is a bad time to be squishy. Goodbye. Seriously, I'm just loving this more than I should. Yeah, so it's not so much classes, but armors that make the difference. And that is always nice to see. That's actually funny. You know, I spend a lot of time watching things on various historical things and tests and clarifications and stuff like that on different treatises and whatnot. And, I don't know, it's just something that's always fascinated me since I was a kid. It's like, I want to know how stuff worked, and, like, would go and... Quite frankly, I was a weirdo kid that ended up making, like, friggin' weapons and whatnot in the backyard when I was bored. Like, to the point that I actually tried to smelt down tinfoil to make a sword one time, and was actually almost successful in it. Because I basically made a rigid piece of aluminum. I kind of just thought... Granted, I was like 10. My thought was just, it is metal. The more you burn it, the more it turns into other better metal. So that got clarified later on, but no. Point being, you know, would constantly want to go to museums and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, so I don't get it. This stuff is solid as all crap. Why is everything getting through it in all these movies? And yeah, that's why it was always nice to be able to go back and research that stuff. And it's like, okay, no, that friggin' chain, that's gonna protect you from a lot of stuff. Like, mail is ridiculously good. And that's why it was so popular for so long. So right now, like, the setup I have for these guys is actually pretty close to historically accurate, actually. I said actually a bunch there. But yeah, you got mail on them, you got spears. I just need to get some decent helmets, and there we go. Then we're riding in history shadows a little bit. We're gonna ignore all the magic-y stuff going on. But yeah, no, this is how it goes. You know, it's actually fun to think about this whole series and I guess kind of a realism type situation. Because think about it, like, they've got friggin' zombies roaming around and skeletons roaming around and dragons and crap, and this is just on your commute to the city or whatever, so you're going off to go buy some bread or whatnot. It's like, fine, go get, you know, Cousin Bob, he's the exorcist. We got freaking skeletons taking over the farm again. I mean, I would love some more backstories and all that stuff. It always crack me up. And it's kind of cool how, by and large, you know, the monsters in the background just kind of hang out. They're just defending themselves. They'll leave if you ask them to. The nice thing with tamers, you can just, you know, peacefully resolve that situation and go. Actually, one of the challenges that I've attempted several times on the Vita but haven't really been successful on is to kind of put together a pacifist type of thing for this. Wherein the idea was to just go and, you know, look through everybody's convincing thingy, which is this right here. So basically it just tells you how content they are with their leader, and when it's referring to you, it's referring to their leader. So the more discontent they are, the more likely they are to join you. I don't know if that's changed in this mod at all. But point being, there's the distinct possibility of being able to recruit like half the other army. So I was always kind of curious to see just how far that could be taken. I probably will still do that at some point, especially with this mod. We'll see. Get a whole bunch of heavily armored pacifists. Sounds like fun. Hey, squishy buddy. Squish. Breached. I didn't counter poison that guy. Oh well. Let's have Voltaire going around on their back. They seem to be more aggressive. Usually they like to hang out on the left there. So it seems like they're being a bit more aggressive, trying to get more damage in. What is that guy wearing? Now, let's see, this guy's, yeah, that guy's in chain. He's in full chain. He's in leather, yeah. So that difference is pretty substantial. I've said it before, I'll say it a million more times. That is fan-friggin-tastic. Also feels a lot more like the original did. You can have somebody with some armor, they're actually being protected. It's not a mild suggestion or a very minor, you know, damage reduction. It's significant. This stuff's armor. It keeps you alive. There's a reason people have used it since the beginning of, well, I guess metallurgy more than anything. Well, actually no, because then they had cloth stuff before then, so... whatever. Since people figured out how to make clothes. Let's go with that. Actually, that's one thing that's always fun to watch, Gambeson tests. So they're basically just like a wool coat. And honestly, if you've ever worn a solid winter coat and all that, it makes sense. It's like, yeah, that thing's gonna protect you from stuff. But yeah, with those ones, it was basically like if you've ever used a moving blanket, kind of wrapped around yourself. So, yeah. Generally speaking, it can even catch arrows and things like that. It's neat. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but, you know, considering that it was basically the equivalent of literally just going and getting a winter coat at the time, yeah, you know, you'd probably spend 50 bucks on a thing that keeps you alive as opposed to saving up for years to get little bits of metal to slap to yourself. Especially if you couldn't afford it. And especially if it hadn't come out yet. So, that was a good time for them, anyway. But, very glad to see that all that kind of stuff is actually getting more popularity nowadays. By the way, I don't know if this is a thing with a mod or something I never actually noticed with the sprites, but basic soldiers, the ends of their sleeves, they kind of have like a little gold trim on there. I have a feeling that's always been there, because there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of sprite switching going on. Yet, anyway. Interesting. I have a feeling the main reason that a lot of the early game sprites were switched around was to let you know the mod was working. And, actually, Lewis, if you're watching this, the issue you were having there, I was actually thinking to possibly put a guide together on how it's supposed to go, in case some step was missed. Because I hadn't that exact same message come up at first. So, I'll see about slapping one of those together. I don't know if... I mean, technically it's a mod, so I assume it's all kosher. I mean, for a thing for a PSP, so... it's technically kind of in that whole abandonware gray area, so I don't assume I would get in trouble for that. Don't think. Not like anyone really watches this in any huge numbers, so hopefully that shouldn't be an issue. Alright, Berserker is about to eat it, but way more resilient than the base game version, I'll say that much. I mean, just giving him that shield, she can actually go and, you know, scrap with the best of them now. Really appreciate that, because I loved base game Berserkers and what they were built for. But man, their lack of resilience made them pretty much inviable for an Iron Man run. It's like, okay, they wandered into 2-3 guys and they're weak to everything, so they're just getting torn right the hell apart and you have to waste all your heals on them. So yeah, when I was doing that Catch-22 thing, the Berserker class almost entirely got wiped out by the end of Chapter 2. Either that or they just plain stuck in the background and got replaced with somebody else as soon as possible. Yeah, these improved heals really changed the game around though. It is fan-friggin-tastic. Good job. Two-handers are doing their job. Because yeah, their main thing was to be an overwhelming weapon when you no longer needed a shield. So if you're done with your defensive setup, you don't really have to worry about anything but your offensive setup. So full plate comes around. In some cases, well, I mean, somebody wouldn't really want to give up a shield with mail, but still. Generally speaking, you know, knights started getting their full plates and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm wearing my shield at all times now. So time to go get some of them big weapons out. And then halberds got all popular because they were pretty good at taking people down with it. Not really so much with the edges, so much as the spikes. But anyhow, I don't assume there's going to be any variance between different types of polearms in this, so I'm going to go ahead and shut up with all that. It's just this is the one opportunity I'll probably ever get to just go on a spiel about that kind of stuff. Because yeah, there was at least a solid attempt made in this series to, you know, try to adhere to something like that. Actually, FFT's system made a lot of sense too. You know, the better it was, the more health it just gave you. It made sense because it was your armor taking the hit and not you. It kind of would have been nice to see, I don't know, almost like the XCOM Long War mod. Would have been nice to see a thing where you had the character's base health and then you had how much health was added from the armor. Like in that case, when you had knights with a ton of health, it was like, okay, their actual health is like 70, but they've got 300 because of all their armor. It's like, yeah, sweet. All coming from their protection. It's like you can feel it, it's physically there. Which I guess is the real thing when, as far as what makes me happy about all this stuff. It's not so much, you know, is it accurate to one thing or another, it's, you know, this makes sense, like from a logical, physical space perspective, it's like, it's there. Metal hit by metal, it's fine. It's just fine, you know, something softer hit by metal, part of it's gonna get through, more of the percussion is gonna get through. It's gonna be pretty decent against that percussion, but, you know, more stuff might pierce it, and stuff like that. By and large, you know, some things are gonna get caught in cloth, so that's another thing. But yeah, I don't know. I think it just helps with immersion. That Rending Gale seemed to be much weaker than usual, but I could be wrong. I know it's supposed to be. Okay. Yeah, that's looking pretty balanced right now. It feels like their levels are going up far faster than before, which I really like. And dang it, I forgot to look at their skills again. Let's see. Leonard, how much did you get? 86? No, that's about the same as it was before. Let's give you Field Alchemy just in case a miracle happens here. So, I'm gonna try to save the sisters this time around. Now, I thought I had all these lag issues sorted out. Yeah, restarting the emulator seemed to fix some of it. Right, so I have you here to break through. I want you over here for healing. And you guys can actually just go in the back. Right. I think it's Sistina that's the yellow one. And let's see if you're changed. Nope. Alright, well, let's try to save all of them. You can save her regardless, but this just basically gives you a game over in case you don't get to her in time. Now... Oof. Okay, well, no, she's got a spear, so she's gonna be a lot more evasive now. That's good. Also, hopefully she's gonna end up, you know, not prioritizing going and getting herself killed as much. Either way, I'm gonna rush these guys over here. Now, what kind of damage are we talking bow-wise? Severe against him. Decent against him, actually. Outright crush him. Honestly, incredible against everyone but Bolus, so... Aside from their speed, yeah, maybe they could use another nerf. Alright, now, let's push you up. As many shields going up here as possible. I probably could have pushed her... Well, no, I couldn't have pushed her up with denim. Don't get scrappy, Sistina. Trying to save you here. I wonder if part of the reason that Spears got a big evasion bonus was for the sake of getting these ones saved. It feels like she needs a really massive avoidance bonus because of her tendency to do exactly this kind of crap. Right. Soldier platoon is in the back here. Oh well. I always want to call them soldiers still. That's what they were called in the GBA games, and I believe in the originals as well. Original TO, that is. Alright. So the knight's not going to go down for the kill. Now, their skills and equipment loadouts seem to be the same, unless I'm missing something, but let's take a look. Truth be told, I was looking forward to this fight a little bit in order to get his Beastmaster mark. Yeah, it seems like they're using the same tiers, so they're changed based on tier. This guy usually had a lobber, but he's got a hand axe this time around. Not a lobber, some kind of throne thing, I'm pretty certain. I could be wrong, but that's what comes to mind. You definitely didn't have a circlet before, but this is fine. Oh yeah, monsters get weapons. So, this was one of the things I was looking for in order to get a Beastmaster mark. Because I want to try out some of these. Generally, I want to see if they're still the same kind of, you know, long-range rock artillery that they were before. So, it actually doesn't look like it. So I'm glad for that. They've got, looks like their, you know, melee stuff is at least 30 stronger than their ranged. Just, yeah, because of this, so not really so much anything else, but it seems like their base stats have been possibly lowered, but their physical attack is higher. So in this case, it's got 20 on slash, 20 or 10 on just base attack. So it ends up being 30 higher, around there anyway, because they're used. I know they're supposed to have pretty much identical physical and ranged because they use that rock. Again, that might have changed, so we'll see. What are we lagging for? There's nothing really graphically going on here. Let me try exiting out of some stuff. Maybe that's what this is. Because I just fixed this issue. Sorry, bear with me a moment. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. Does that do anything? Right, I don't know what's going on with that. It's just getting worse and worse, seemingly at random. Alright, let's... Alright, it seems like the rendering resolution was the issue. Ah, crap, I forgot to give her her thing again. Oh well. Oh, sorry for hitting the microphone there. Yeah, so it seems like the rendering resolution was the issue. I had it set to 5 times because of AC, and it looks like it was just trying to keep up with the 5 and couldn't for some reason, so set it back to auto and it all seems better now. Fun with emulation. Ooh, they're actually willing to stab through their own guys to get at her. I don't think they were willing to do that as much before. So I don't think he's changed any of the AI stuff. So she seems to be doing pretty well for herself, all things considered. And she's almost killed one guy, she's blocking hits left and right, and yeah, a large part of that is RNG, let's be frank. But another thing, Bolus, I believe his name is, the knight up there, he didn't bother to come down and barricade us from actually getting close to her. So I think he's actually just gonna stay up there this time. Also, I'm not sure if the dragon has Rampart Aura. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. So... Dragons not get that anymore. No, he does have Rampart Aura. It's still on there. He just decided to go for the side instead of charging down. punch this guy in the back of the head. Bam. No poison. Oh well. It's only like 10 to 15%. Alright. Time to put the healer in the danger zone. Get Sistina healed up. Feels like she has substantially more health than before, but that's probably her equipment. It seems like everyone has more health than before, does more damage though. In general, it seems like everybody's more capable at their job. There isn't as much, you know, well, that rookie just went, you know, rookie soldier guy just went and wasn't able to stab a thing that's standing still 4 times in a row. It's always more satisfying. Stab that thing. By that thing, I mean that guy that looks like a pirate, but he's not. Stab that dragon. Apparently they're weak to pierce now. I believe they were weak to crush before, so that's nice. Because, you know, you'd think about it, if something is scaled, it's definitely gonna, you know, be better at, well, I guess that depends, because, I mean, with individual scales, they're more meant to crumple off when hit with something, so if something crushing hits them, it's gonna take off a few scales, but generally only do damage to those scales. It tends to disperse the impact a lot better. Anyhow, getting into weird spiels again. Moving on. Archers, you still rule. Well, I guess this is Sarah, to be fair. She's, you know, for a named generic, she's kind of hardcore. Which they do say she's, like, the best archer they've got, or whatever. Nice. Get in that river. Those pushback mechanics, I just love it so much. That's been a thing with the series. Like, okay, in Night of Lotus, one of my favorite things was going to that castle map. The one with the super high wall. I think it was Astoria. Was it Astoria? I think it was Astoria. Go to that map. Get whatever her face was, Margaret. Get her to stand on the wall and just like slap her off for the win. And then just go to the other wall and do the same thing with Osric. Just have all the underpowered team go in with only shields and then just kind of maneuver him over to the wall and pelt him down with all kinds of extra abilities, and then, yeah, just slap him over the wall. Like, oh no, how did you beat me with all these tactics? Like, no, you just got slapped off a wall, dude. No, this was shenanigans, that's all this was. Good times, good times. I spent more hours than I probably should ever admit on doing that. So I would literally just keep doing it over and over until I pulled it off. It was especially hilarious if you had Labina and whatever her face was, the other sister. You just had them fly up there. Utter shenanigans. Alright, he can't do anything, so he's gonna go for this archer. Yeah, I really appreciate how good Sistina is now. She actually didn't die. Good job not dying. It is, well, then again, it's also probably at least 10 to 15%, or maybe 50%, or maybe 100% the fact that we're able to get up here within a reasonable amount of time. Because normally you spend the first, you know, 4 or 5 rounds up here, fighting off this dragon, doing no damage to it. Because you can't. Ooh, Beast Lords. Yes. That is what I wanted. So you spend all this time doing no damage to this stupid thing. Because, pretty much Lenner... Oh, what? That's got 2 range now. Cool. It's pretty much Lenner is the only one that can do damage to the thing, aside from maybe your leader, if you've put them in a damage-dealing class, and some mages if you've gotten them up at this point. So, yeah. In general, it just wasn't good times. And then you'd get a healer around the side, and then she would be, like, around here. And then she'd suddenly decide, no, I want to hop back here and go start stabbing dudes, and you're way back here, just stuck between these 2 shrubs. Like, dude, what is your friggin' death wish here? Why do you end up going and, you know, jumping straight into those 3 archers? And then she dies, and then you get a game over, because you decided to do the good guy path. This game's not all about rewarding your good guy stuff. It's about that life. How much time is on this now? Alright, almost up to half an hour again, so it'll be time to call it a break here pretty soon. Should be done with this fight by then. There's good fighting abilities though. He's not just immune to damage, he's actually just blocking it. I think that's what I loved about the balance of the original TO there. I mean, they had a lot of an issue with giving boss characters disgusting amounts of sponginess, but in general, when you had situations where somebody was supposed to be a good fighter, there was a lot more of them, you know, doing good fighter stuff. Like blocking things. Not just absorbing damage. Thank you, World of Warcraft, for making that popular. Which it probably was something else before that, but whatever, I blame them. Is this worth it? Yeah, I think so. Alright, you just flat out can't get through it. That's fine. Yeah, there's another misconception that crossbows and arrows went straight through plate. Good God, no, they did not. No, they didn't even always... well, they weren't even really reliable for getting through chain until it was one of the super heavy ones. You need to be friggin' Schwarzenegger to pull the thing back. It's like, yeah, that'll go through some chain. Don't know if it'll go through the padding underneath it. Then you have a solid metal plate. It's like, no, that thing's been forged to withstand who knows what. You probably kick them with a horse and they're fine. It's mostly the impact that has an issue, and that's why hammers got popular. Can't get through their armor? Give them a concussion. Anyhow, weird historical squeals. Shut up, me. There's an excuse now. No, Birdman, come back, I want your loots. Oh, by the way, it seems like archers have dramatically more movement. But, yeah, they're slow as crap. Can you get there? Sort of. So yeah, they're much slower, have a lot more movement. But yeah, they still feel like they could use maybe 25% less power. At least their bows. I should probably see how quickly this is going up. Almost a 10% on an augment from a single fight. Me likey. Make some use of these augment skills. Come to think of it. Yeah, if they're able to regularly train augment light, I don't know if they're allowed to give themselves a buff for it. They can probably get some pretty decent damage out on a fist. I don't know. That remains to be seen. Seems like they should be able to. I'm mostly just getting his crossbow skill up here. He can't do jack against this guy. Oh. Okay, the Mendleaf tank is going to be a lot stronger now. Right. And I didn't give these guys Mighty Impact yet. That'll have to be next time. Good. That's nerfed to the point where she doesn't want to use it all the time. Let's get you in here. You've got no problem bypassing his damage threshold. Probably get Voltaire in here for some massive beatdown action. Here, this archer, or not. Would be nice to see the item find items improved. I mean, a lot of those were crafting materials, and of those crafting materials, a lot of them have been switched to different things now. So, like, I know he simplified the crafting system entirely to accommodate for the fact that it took 1 billion years to craft anything before. Alright, this is gonna be worth it. Oh! You know what? Okay, with this armor system, actually that counter back and forth stab thing, it can be worth it. Because if they're heavily armored and the guy between them is lightly done, they should be able to DPS like crazy just going back and forth. Okay. So, in that case, Voltaire might become a stabby guy. That changes things entirely. I never really thought about it in that context. They're taking no damage there. So if that guy was lightly armored, they'd be doing 30s and taking 10s. So it's very worthwhile. Unless if their spear skill gets up there, then they'll get even better at avoiding. Yes. Yes. Me like it. Me like it very much. Alright. Wreck this bastard. There we go. That's doing good. And that was the cool thing about large swords. Is they could function as a polearm. I mean, if you have metal on your hand, you're able to, you know, grab the handle and all that, so you can just double hand the thing. What was the term? Half swording, I think it was called. So you'd be able to use it as kind of a polearm that way. If you had a guy that was, you know, wearing plate or whatever, it still was enough of a concussive hit to do some serious damage that way. If it was somebody unarmored, well, frankly, they weren't as slow as is often assumed. And there's this really fantastic video that I think it was some Italian guys put together. There were these two guys fighting with bastard swords by the looks of it. Something like that. And yeah, it was awesome to watch. Like, the idea was to make a movie to kind of show more or less realistic sword fighting. And that thing was intense, and I wish I remember the name of it right now. But probably just Googling that general term, you can find what I'm talking about. It was a just realistic sword fighting movie. And yeah, it's fast. Like, all things considered, the way that they're all weighted, all their weight's in the back, so... I mean, the thing's a lever. You know, Sword's whole thing was they were able to swing fast. So he needed to hit somebody far away. That's what he had a spear for. He needed to be relatively nimble. That's what he had a sword for. He had somebody that was in plate. That's what he had heavier weapons for. You know, there was a lot more to it than, you know, swords are just everything all the time. I mean, they were... If you think about it in a modern context, like, if you see any kind of, I guess, people doing their whole soldierly stuff, like, okay, the guy's a rifle, the guy's a pistol, right? He goes in, he's in tight quarters or in a civilian setting or whatever else, he's not going to be carrying a rifle around, he has a pistol on him at that point. And that's basically what swords were back then. So, like, say there's a knight or something, they've got a spear on horseback, like, okay, they're going in, they're doing their whole cavalry thing. And then, you know, they're walking around daily life, or they're just... Let's say they end up breaking their spear, which is pretty unlikely, all things considered. Because those things were made to really last for a while. Plus they could be replaced if they were damaged. Whatever. Either point. So, let's say something happens to their spear, gets stuck in a guy or whatever. Well, then they've got their sword as a backup. You know, they got all, let's say there's a heavy guy. They turn it around, hold it by the blade, hit them with the pommel of the thing. Hit them with, well, yeah, not really the pommel so much as the handle. Essentially functions like a hammer. That's why a lot of them have, you know, spikes or hammer bits on the handle. And yeah, if they wanted to just carry the thing around, say they were going into town or whatever and still needed something for self-defense, that's why that was there. If they got in a fight with another guy with a sword there, you know, that's why they had guards on there. Because essentially, actually, this was awesome. There's this guy that does a bunch of videos on the stuff called Shadowversity. There was a whole thing on why axes and maces and things most of the time didn't have any guards on them. There's a whole thing like, okay, somebody's walking around town, they get in a fight with another guy, right? You know, blade goes down the edge, other guy's blade goes down the edge of the blade. It's there to stop it from hitting them in the hand. They're not probably going to be carrying an axe around town, so doesn't really need to be there, because they'll probably have metal gloves or whatever else if they're actually in a fight at that time. So, anyway, it's just fun stuff to think about. Because history is fun. There we go. Spellblades got level up. I probably won't be using them much. I'm just not a fan of that kind of character in general. But it makes so much more sense to call them that in this context, because of their special classes, but that's later on. Yes, yes, yes. You are basically the medieval IRA. Yeah, peace. Peace sounds good. Like, would you like race war or would you like peace? Well, I don't know. Apparently there are so many things that need to be tossed about. Now, first off, before I forget, Impact. These guys are about to become awesome. And this is why I like to have my frontline people at the exact same situation. Because generally I will not put a skill on any of them unless they can all use it. Because then it just gets confusing. Alright. Berserker Crazy Lady. What can you does? It feels like you're gonna need better items, so... Field Alchemy for you. I need Trajectory. Also want Anatomy down the line, but for now, just extra skill slot. And so I'll basically be using 2 different types of weapons on this guy, just because I want to test them all out. I don't have any thrown weapons yet, but I'll replace that at that time. Alright, you get claws. Also, you know what? I will have to save this equipping and whatnot for another time. Yeah, the little one seems to need a change, so time for me to go.